Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Hakeem, the founder of the Psi Games. I am with Chase from Social RV. And Chase has put together this software in which you are able to go and learn about remote viewing and also partake in the training and practice of remote viewing. All right. And so, Chase, it's so good to have you here, man.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your background and how you got started in this whole process.
Yeah, sounds good. So my name's Chase. I'm a software engineer by training. I love reading weird books. I love conspiracy theories. I'd come across the stories of the US government, gateway process, Stargate, things like that. Always kind of wanted to know if it was real or not, or if it was just a fun story. And then I had some time off from work. I took a little bit of a sabbatical and I thought, now's a great time. All these books say, hey, you can just do these experiments yourself and see if they're real. Let's do the experiments and see if they're real, right? The more I looked, the more there was like troves of data that says this is real. And so you can go to the first source data. And then at the end of the day, you're like, okay, do I trust this data is real? Or were these researchers lying? Is this a whole psyop? So I just collected my own data. And, the more I collected, the more I was like, wait, what? Dang, that worked better than it should have. What the heck's going on here? And so I was really hoping to just get in quick and be like, oh, this doesn't work. Cool. Case closed. But it just kept working. And so eventually I collected enough of my own data that I felt like there was something there, but it wasn't quite definitive enough as I would have liked. So I built Social RV. So Social RV is a platform. It's the first platform I know of where people can submit remote viewing sessions, which we can prove are blind. So lots of people submit remote viewing sessions in the community, on Discord, on Reddit. Some amazing sessions that if you knew for sure that those were blind, your mind would just be blown. You would be like, obviously, Psi is real. But you're taking their word for it, right? You're trusting that they didn't cheat. And so Social RV is a platform where you can trust that they didn't cheat. You can verify it for yourself, that these sessions are blind. And then on top of that, we're just building some of the best learning materials, practice materials. We have automatic scoring, kind of just like the best place to explore, learn, share remote viewing on the internet. And we're doing that because remote viewing is one of the best ways to verifiably experiment with and study psychic functioning in humans.
Wow, that's really well said. Did you practice that in the mirror this morning, knowing that you're going to be on the show?
I channeled it from the universe.
Well, it definitely rambled. Like it came right out. Like you did do that for sure. I talked to one of my teachers, my instructors, Paul H. Smith, and I said, Paul, why are you doing this? You've been doing this for years. You don't have these really great big classes, so you're not making like money like some of these folks out here who have like 20 people in a class. Like he's very adamant about having like 6 people. And if he has 6 or 7, then he's got to have like extra mentors to help with that. And he said, because it's probably one of the easiest and cleanest ways that I can prove and a person can prove to themselves that they're more than their physical body.
Yes.
And I said, whoa, mind blown. Okay. So, I mean, that goes a lot in line with what Robin Monroe says. As a matter of fact, the Monroe Institute, in which I'm a advisory board member on, we talk about, that Robert talked very much about, and it's their slogan, you are more than your physical body. And so it's a very easy way to have that experience. So I love that you tapped into that and you are now building this platform. But I still say like there's something missing there, because it's not everybody who has a remote viewing experience and says, okay, this is real, decides they want to build this like super duper platform and do all this stuff. So what's driving you exactly? What's happening here? Tell us more.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. You do the sessions and you're like, wow, this feels better than chance. But at the end of the day, you say like, oh, but I could have fooled myself. Like, what are the statistics? No one's first session is so amazing that they're like, no way could this be. Other than that, you said what's kind of driving it. People don't build this platform. I certainly didn't build this platform to make money. When I launched this, I thought the total addressable market might be about 20 people. So I was very excited when I got my 21st user, and I was like, oh damn, we got the whole market is here. Everybody's here. Now we've got, a couple hundred users, a couple hundred submitted sessions. Towards the end of my sabbatical, Deep Prasad, who is a founder in the Bay Area, hosted this thing called the UAP Hackathon in San Francisco. It's the first UAP hackathon. We did it on an aircraft carrier museum. It was very cool. I kind of just stumbled across it on Twitter. Obviously, the psychic and alien thing is very well intertwined. So I was excited to go to meet some people. They had a psionics track. An earlier version of this project was my winning entry into the hackathon, where we won the psionics track, third place overall in the hackathon. I wasn't planning to make software before entering the hackathon, but after meeting some people in person who are actual professional remote viewers. I met some people from Bertie Jaworski's team, for example, got to talk to them in person. My first time ever meeting the weirdos that I'd read about that were as weird, right? It kind of gave me that extra oomph where I took the project, and instead of just shelving it, I continued with it and shipped it as social remote viewing, and it turned into that. So that's kind of what drove me to actually build the software. Yeah.
Now, when you say you won the psionic hackathon, what is that? What's going on? Tell the audience what is that?
So a hackathon is a thing in software engineering where people come together, sometimes just for a day, sometimes for a weekend, and you just build cool shit. And the idea is that you haven't started your project before the weekend. It's how much cool shit can you build in a day or in a weekend? They're really popular for people in school looking for jobs to show off to companies. Hey, I built this in 48 hours. This is cool. Sometimes they'll, investors will be there trying to write seed checks into startups and stuff like that. And startups will come out of them. So in the good software engineering schools, they'll have their hackathons. Some great products have come out of those hackathons. So it's a common thing in the Bay Area, which is where I live, to do. And so this UAP hackathon, UAP being, UFO, unidentified aerial phenomenon thing, they kind of just got together 200-300 software engineers, physics people, some actually really smart, talented people, and said, hey, we're just going to, build some cool stuff around these tracks, around hardware for detecting UFOs, around psionics, things like that. And then they also had some great people giving talks. They had people from Skywatcher there giving talks. They had some remote viewing people there mingling. They had people from Skywatcher Psionics team there to talk to. And it's just hey, let's hang out on this aircraft carrier for 2 days with some smart people that are interested in this too. We're going to build some cool stuff. We're going to try to bring the community of software engineers and physicists in more and get some more of the stuff out to the world.
Wow, that's so what. And what's really funny is I remember, and I don't know if this is just by coincidence or what, but I remember watching one of Jesse Michaels. He's a prominent influencer, it covers a lot of this stuff. And he was interviewing one of the heads of the Skywatcher group, and they were on a ship somewhere. And I was like, where the hell is that? So is there some connection there, or was this the same thing?
Yeah, so that interview was shot during the hackathon on the ship.
That's hilarious. Now, as soon as you said it, I'm like, yeah, I don't know why my brain was boom, right here.
Yep.
And I remembered them on that ship, and I was like, oh, 2 people. And, because hopefully it doesn't scare anybody out there. Well, most people know about my background, but because I'm a PsyOp guy, I'm really good at tying together stuff. And my brain immediately was like, oh, yeah, ship. Jesse, Skywatcher guy, is this the same time? That's funny.
Yeah, it was very funny to see that video, the episode of Jesse Michaels' podcast, because it came out 2 or 3 months after the UAP hackathon. And yeah, Jesse Michaels was there. James Fowler from Skywatcher was there. And I was like, oh, hey, I recognize that background. Oh, that's what they were doing when they ran off that day to go cordon off an area.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Let me ask you, so I don't know if you could talk about it or not or whatever, but it sounds like it's a public thing. What type of stuff comes out of this? You rambled off all types of things, but is there anything that the average person can really understand and point to and say, oh, that's pretty significant?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say it's a little bit more intimate than a conference, and it also acts as a little bit better filter for who will show up. Maybe, anybody who's there participating is maybe almost influential enough in the space that they could be a speaker or someone important at a conference, right? Because they're building things in the space. It's more intimate, so you can talk with the speakers and stuff a little bit more because there's fewer people there. In terms of what comes out of it, I mean, this is an example of what comes out of it, right? Like I wouldn't have probably built Social RV without it. And this is something coming out of it going to the public. So some of the other winning projects, for example, one was some tools to view atomic tomography of some of the samples of UAP crash material that were donated by Stanford. And man, the name of the researcher's name, his name escapes me, the very popular one from Stanford who is very into all the UFO, UAP stuff. Help me out if you can think of his name.
You mean Hal Puthoff, maybe?
No, the other one.
He's no longer at Stanford anyway. He's at his own company.
I feel
Gary Nolan.
Gary Nolan.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Gary Nolan had supplied some atomic tomography scans of some UFO crash material. And so one of the teams built tools to analyze those scans, look for structures, reverse engineer the atomic tomography, view them, things like that. That was a tool that they decided to open source. Something like that didn't exist in open source. Those tools were expensive to use otherwise. Another team built some stuff that let you take some simple iPhones, a couple iPhones, and like point them at the sky, and it could figure out the positioning of the iPhones and triangulate an object in the sky. And so it could figure out how fast it was moving in 3 dimensions and what its arc was. And they're hoping to use that technology in Skywatcher to help track some of their UFOs and stuff. And with their technology, with the software that these people built at the hackathon, you can just use like 2 or 3 cheap iPhones together. And now you have this like really advanced sensor system that can, with high precision, map something in 3D space that's far away.
Wow.
Those are the sorts of projects that you see like come out.
That's crazy. You talking about 2 or 3 days somebody built this? Are you
like 48 hours. Yeah.
So you come together. What does this look like? Like now, I mean, you're super like smart. You remind me of what was the name of this television show where they were trying to build this laser? It was like a bunch of college kids. It's an old movie, but they were at a technical college and they were building this laser, and it was a Real Genius. Have you ever heard of that movie?
I haven't. No.
When we get off,
I can
look
imagine
it up.
that.
When we get off, look it up and watch that movie because you should be in that movie. So the new version of it. Anyway, so they come together. Explain to me how this goes. They come together. Somebody poses a challenge, or you come with a challenge, and then you build something right there on the spot. Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So the first day of it is just people mingling, talking, meeting people. Some people come with a partner and or an idea. Some people come with nothing, right? And they just decide they're going to meet people there, think of something there. So the first night you're kind of mingling, talking to a bunch of people. I didn't know what I was going to build yet when I went. I met some people that were also interested in the psionics track. And so we were coming up with ideas together about what we might build. And then, you come up with a team, and then the first day of hacking starts, and you just have a lot of people find somewhere to camp out, a comfy couch or a chair or something like that. And everyone's furiously caffeinated and typing away. And, by the second or by the end of the first day, some people have some stuff that maybe sort of kind of works. They're showing, getting feedback on. You've got a bunch of like circuit boards lying around, hopefully none that are like catching fire or anything like that. And then, by the second day, everyone's really tired, over caffeinated, probably haven't showered in 2 days, just furiously typing out, getting something working good enough to demo. Usually the demos are a little bit vaporware. They're like, like just this exact path in the product sort of kind of works. You can get an idea of like what I'm trying to build here. And it's fun, showing off and judging and seeing other people's projects and trying to keep up with them and add them on Twitter or whatever to keep up with them in the future. Our first project, we built something that measured EEG brainwaves using a Muse headset. And so we would measure someone's brainwaves during a remote viewing session, have some tools for them to upload the session. And then the idea was that we would collect enough EEG data to then train an ML model to correlate EEG spikes with the quality of the remote viewing session. So we could measure psychic functioning on EEG kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah, currently social remote viewing does not have an EEG component, mostly just because none of our users are looking to upload the EEG data yet. But we'll be adding that back in soon, hopefully.
Yeah. So Man, this is so interesting to me. I can't even find the words because I'm such a nerd like this. Like, and at one point, I told myself in a former life that the only thing I wanted to be was a mechanical engineer, and then started on that track and realized like the math was too much for me, and I didn't like that part of it. So I decided to step away. But so I love this. But going back to the social RV, because that's really what we're about. So we're talking about, and you have this company and you're doing this, and you guys have been gracious enough to sponsor the Psi Games, and it's a very clear connection there. Your own journey to remote viewing, how much have you done? Where are you going with it for your own growth in this space?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I came to remote viewing reading Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ's book about the research they did at SRI. I read it. My wife and I did one experiment trying to remote view where my brother in Vancouver was, and I got a total miss. Hers was like kind of a hit, and we were like, oh, wow, that's cool. And then we just like put it away for 2 years. And then during my sabbatical, I thought, oh, this would be a cool time to dig back into that. And I wanted to do the gateway tapes, the gateway process, see if anything happened there. And I did about 80 remote viewing sessions over about 2 months, something like that. So I was doing like 1 or 2 a day. I read like a dozen books on remote viewing. I did Bertie Jaworski's class on remote viewing, things like that, and really wanted to see if it was a learnable skill. My idea was like, oh, well, if I get really good at it, then I'll know if it's real, right? And so I recorded all those sessions. Unfortunately, they're not on Social RV just yet because obviously, like, I had to use other people's targets. I don't want to put on the site, and I can't use my own targets on the site, so they're not up there just yet. They will be soon. But yeah, so I spent a good like 2-3 months really deeply researching, practicing remote viewing, and then that kind of culminated actually in the hackathon being a thing. That was kind of in the 3rd month of my sabbatical. I found out about the hackathon, went to it, and then kind of created Social RV to continue my journey in the space.
Yeah, what do you see yourself in the RV space? Maybe like 2 years from now, 5 years from now.
Well, I think if you know that it's real, it's much more compelling to spend the effort practicing, because it is quite a lot of effort that you're just kind of going on faith, right? You're doing like 1 or 2 hours of sessions a day, every day. So if you know that there's an end of the line there, that makes it more compelling for sure. So I'm definitely planning to continue now that I'm seeing more and more that it is in fact real, and it is like being fully like proven. And then I think that will probably be secondary though to my role as like a runner of the platform. I don't know how talented I'll be able to be. Maybe I'll never be talented as some of the great viewers we already have. So I'd also just like to make like a community space for them and great tools for them to continue their own journeys.
Wow. What is the value of remote viewing and getting really good at it? What's the value there? If you're not like on a team that's doing, trying to predict the stock market with associative remote viewing or something of that nature, or what do you think is going on there? What do you think the importance is?
Yeah, maybe this is maybe I don't share the same view as a lot of other people in the community, but I don't think there is much value. I think it's just fun. So I think I would actually compare it to like learning a musical instrument. You see, like there's some guitars behind me. I play guitar. Like, what is the value of me playing guitar if I'm not a professional musician, if I'm not recording, if I'm not writing music? I enjoy it. It's fun. Some people think it's cool. Right? Some girls think it's cool. That's great. At the end of the day, that's the only value that I need to keep me playing my guitar. And maybe I get so into it in the future, or someone gets so into it that they actually turn it into a career and they actually find some real value in it, right? I think remote viewing is the same way, right? Like to get real value out of it, you need to be incredibly good, like top 0.0001% to actually get answers that you can rely on. And some people will do that and they will take it to that level. And for some people, it's just like a fun parlor trick. It's like, oh, I proved to myself that the universe is grander than I could have imagined, and I'm more than my physical body. Neat, right? Like that's value, I would say.
Yeah. That's really interesting that you said that, and I love that you preface it. Which, well, maybe it's not the same as other people, but this is what I feel. What when you do your remote viewing or learning this remote viewing, and you're going through this process, and you do have that connection where you recognize that you're able to see something that's not in your room, or not see it, but be able to describe it, be able to gain information about it. Does that not, for you, kind of give you this sense of connection with all things in around, not just in your immediate vicinity, but things in other places?
Yeah.
Is that how you feel, or no?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would liken like a very good session to um, not in feeling, but in like outcome of like how you feel about the spirituality in the session. I would liken a very good session to like a strong psychedelic experience, right, or something like that, where you're like, wow, I just spent 30 minutes like exploring the universe and the unified consciousness, and I feel like there's so much more there. And you know, a great session is. You really feel what you're seeing, but you often don't know what it is that you are feeling. It's like you're blind and you're like got your hands on an elephant or something like that. And then when you actually do get to see the target, you're like, oh, that's what I was feeling. That's what that thing was. It's very exciting to have a session of that quality and then come to it. One session that I had that's a great example is I could feel like these cylindrical bars and then this like space between the bars, like bars in a row. I was like, what is this like dead space between these bars? And it feels like really important. And then like, is this a jail cell, or like what are these things? It's so weird. It didn't feel like a jail cell or something like that. And then finally I saw the target, and it was like the rib cage of a brontosaurus in a museum. I was like, oh, that's the bars between the bones. Interesting. Right. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. To kind of piggyback off that thought, you know, this idea that many of my mentors and teachers in the remote viewing space have had some sort of encounter with some sort of being of something, you know, like, or something like a being. They tend to bump in. And one of the things you said earlier about the connection between the UAP and, you know, remote viewing seems pretty strong. It seems like there's a lot going on. And now we have this newer term called psionics, you know, but what do you think is happening there? And have you had any of those encounters yourself?
Yeah. So I haven't had an encounter like that remote viewing. I have sort of had an encounter like that when I was younger, which I'll talk about in a sec. But I took Bertie Jaworski's class. I'm a big fan of hers. I really like her method. I really like her teaching style. I think she's great. In her sessions and her teaching, she does a lot of what are called esoteric targets, which are targets about like UFOs, communicating with entities, things like that. And I'm of two minds about that. On the one hand, when you're still learning and still coming to grips with whether this thing is real, I think viewing a target you can't validate, it's a little bit disheartening, especially if you have like a good session. It's like, okay, I probably just made that up in my head. Like, and so it doesn't help with like the skeptic side. At the same time, if you were a great remote viewer and you could view any secret in the universe, like what would you spend all your time doing? Probably talking to aliens, right? Like, once you're confident enough in your abilities that like you're not just making it up in your head, that's what I would be doing too. So like I totally get it, but I think it's tough to find the value until you're like so good that you're like 100% sure what you're viewing is accurate. So I think it probably can happen, but I think it's probably not like incredibly relevant for like 99.999% of people. When I was much younger, like 16 years old, I was meditating a lot, like every day, twice a day kind of thing, before I even really knew anything other than like, oh, meditation's supposed to be good for your brain. Cool. And like, I didn't know any of the spiritualism behind it. And I did have a really strong experience one day where I felt like extremely powerful electricity up the back of your spine coming out of the top of your head. What is basically described as like a Kundalini awakening or something like that. Didn't have those words then, wrote it down, and then found out about it and was like, oh, weird. That's a very good description of what happened to me. And that night, you know, I did have what felt like mental communication with something that was answering me, but kind of just wrote it off as like, oh, that was a weird thought I had that time. So that would be my like one tiny experience talking with entities. Yeah, it was more impactful then because I had no background knowledge of what was quote unquote supposed to happen, and so it was very interesting to see other people had exactly the same experiences I did. That was gratifying, but other than that, nothing crazy.
Yeah. So I guess a more direct question: do you believe in UAPs and NHI, which is non-human intelligence? And you already defined UAPs, unidentified area or anomalous phenomenon. And do you believe there is some bridge to be able to communicate or have some encounter with them through remote viewing based on what you know?
Yeah, it seems like something's there. A lot of people seem to think strongly that there's something there. I would believe Skywatcher's data that they are seeing stuff, and part of that seeing stuff seems to be a psionic connection where they can call them in, they can request them. Whether those things are like from another world coming to visit us, whether they're like trans-dimensional, whether it's like the creator of this universe just like messing around with us like we're his Sims. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it's even like China or Russia or US advanced machinery. Could be too, but it certainly seems like there's something going on that's worth looking into more, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. Well, going back to your social RV, what is you? I mean, I guess you can't give your secret sauce, but how do you prove that a person didn't just make something up and put it in the system?
That is a great question. I'm happy to give away the secret sauce because that's how people can prove that it works. So,
okay,
yeah. So let's get into it. So to start with, right now the platform in its state as of today, which is before Psi Games, it is just you're trusting the platform. You're trusting that the platform did not collude with the user to fake their data. 100%. For me, that's enough because I'm the platform and I'm trying to gather the data for myself. And then what we're about to be launching and will be launching before Psi Games is some blockchain-backed methods that can 100% verifiably prove that a session was submitted before the target was selected or before any human in the universe knew what the target was. And so, and this is a new technology that didn't exist back when these experiments were done before. I wish that they did. If I could have gone and seen some like blockchain verified sessions, I wouldn't have built this platform because I would have been satisfied with the result. But what this looks like in practice is, a user submits a session. That session is encoded onto the blockchain to prove at this time, this user submitted this session. And then right after that, we choose the target. And the targets are also on the blockchain. So you can prove like which target corresponded to which session. And you can prove because the target was selected afterwards that no human could have known what the session was or what the target was when the session was submitted. So my understanding is that the precognitive nature of that shouldn't be an impediment to the remote viewing because you can remote view things in the future. We will find out verifiably if that is true or not. We have a second method as well that we've devised to cryptographically ensure that no human has seen the target before a session submitted, but that the target is still chosen. That one's really hard because how do you like prove that some data exists in the universe, but also that no one could see the data? That's like actually kind of a mindfuck a little bit. What we're doing for that, and I'm open to better methods of this, but this is the best that I found so far, is in a phone, like in an iPhone, there is this thing called a secure enclave on the chip, and that's where your Face ID goes, and your passcode goes, and that's why the government can't break into your iPhone if they get it, because the way that this secret stored on the chip is to get access to it, you would need like liquid nitrogen and an electron tunneling microscope, and you need to like open up the chip without it turning off and like view it on the chip. It's not something that's easily done, and so we're leveraging computers in the cloud and Amazon in AWS to use their secure enclaves, and they will cryptographically prove that like, hey, this number was generated on the chip, but did not leave the chip until this date and time. And we're going to be putting those cryptographic proofs on the blockchain. And so you can actually see like, hey, Amazon attests that they created this random number, but we don't know what it is. A user submitted their session against it, and then Amazon attests that they've released the random number, and now humans can know what it is. And so that's the best that we thought of to do a non-precognitive experiment. But we're going to continue like pushing that science forward as much as we can.
Wow, Chase. Wow. That's holy smokes.
Yeah, we're serious about this. We want to create some data that like no skeptic could question our methods in any way, shape, or form. And all they'll be able to talk about is like, how good is this data, not how is this data collected.
And this is not your day job.
My day job is a software engineer, but this is just my side project. Yes.
We should all be so lucky to have a side project like this. Yeah, that's really brilliant. That's really brilliant. So we didn't know each other. You hadn't, I'm assuming, heard about the Psi Games. We have a mutual friend who put us in contact with each other. I mean, you're a pretty honest guy. Just tell me what you think about the Psi Games and what we're doing and why you were willing to support it.
I'm so excited about Psi Games. This is exactly what I'd like to see come. It's so funny. I actually did kind of run across Psi Games because I thought about that name for my website, because that's kind of, we're doing the same thing, right? Psi Games, and maybe we'll do more than remote viewing one day. This is what I want to see in the world. This is what I would like to invest my time and effort in bringing forth, right? Like, let's get people to show off their skills in a way where people will believe that they're not faking it. And if this phenomenon is real, like, let's see what we can do. Let's explore the science together. Let's do like an Olympics of psychic people doing crazy stuff, right? And that's basically what Psi Games is. And so I'm super excited to come and see in person people with these abilities. It's one thing to see a video on YouTube and not be able to see the whole room and be like, okay, that's kind of cool. Maybe, I don't know, is this person like lying? Who knows? And then to actually be there and there actually be money and prizes on the line, you actually see people competing. That's like a whole nother level, right?
Yeah. That's it. That's it right there. I love that. With that being said, I think one of the interesting questions for you too, being a scientific mind like you are, what we know about what people say when they report like NHIs, non-human intelligences and stuff. And, since we've talked about that a little bit. They say, well, they're communicating with me and I don't know how. They're not using words, but it's I understand it. I get it. They're moving these ships without their hands, they are able to influence things without touching them, and then we look at what we know from the last 150 years of empirical data of us doing research on, on psi abilities, and we say to ourselves, well, we know, like from the pair lab stuff, we can influence machines through the psychokinesis. We know we have the ability to remote view. We know that that people have been doing telepathy and researching telepathy, like J.B. Rhine, all of this stuff. And so maybe what we do know is that we as the human species have these capabilities, but we just don't have them to the level in which we're seeing them demonstrated by when these people have these experiences. Yeah. So how, in your opinion, I know my answer that came to me was the Psi Games. That's why I'm doing this. In your opinion, what are ways that we can get to a level like that if you were to game that out long term?
Yeah, well, I like to compare it to when we discovered electromagnetism as a species in like the 1800s, and think about what would it be like if someone just showed up with a maglev train and an iPhone, right? When we were like figuring out what lightning was. Like, that would be pretty cool, right? That they'd harness that. And so I think we're in the same situation now, right? Where people are starting to come to the conclusion like, oh, this is a real thing, possibly harnessable, at least like trainable. Could we build a machine to harness it? Who knows? Maybe we just have to work on our consciousness, but you kind of just have to work at it and prepare and practice and see where the limit is, if there is one. And if we do have some evidence that is believable, I think it's believable, some people might not, of more intelligent species being further along than us in their technology tree, whether that's in like iPhones and maglev trains with electromagnetism or in like telekinesis and telepathy in the psi things. At least we can use that as like a directional proof point of like, oh, it's possible to at least be that good. So we know that that's possible. Let's go try. It's kind of like the 4-minute mile, right? Like, as soon as someone broke the 4-minute mile, people knew it was possible. All of a sudden, it becomes easier. So if you believe that it's possible because we have some proof point of some NHI or something like that, it's only going to become easier for us to like get to that level.
Yeah. Now, do you believe like social RV is a way to help get there, or do you just look at social RV as just like kind of like a fun thing, which is cool? Or do you think that if a person does that enough, that maybe they start being able to tap into that without an hour-long session?
Yeah, well, I feel weird making that grandiose a claim. But anecdotally, I do know from like Bernie Jaworski's team, they've told me that anecdotally, they see that the more people they teach, the better the classes tend to do. And if you look at Rupert Sheldrake's research, he also has the idea of like morphic resonance, where the more people learn something, the easier something is to learn. And so there actually might be something there, that the more people learn remote viewing, the easier it is for the next person to learn. And like as a species, we become more telepathic. I don't know that we could make that claim yet, but I think that there is evidence pointing to the possibility of that claim being true. But regardless of like whether you're making the species as a whole more psychic or you're just making yourself more psychic, certainly the research from Stargate was that, just like learning a musical instrument, practice as well as like, inherent skill, but skill plus practice is what makes people better. And people have found other abilities heightened outside of just remote viewing, like general intuition heightened as a result of learning to remote view. So I think that, just like practicing yoga or practicing meditation or working out, if people come to the conclusion that remote viewing is real, a lot of people might want to practice it as part of a mindfulness practice just because they might get benefits outside of remote viewing.
Wow. Man, I am definitely blown away by you. I did not expect this today.
Happy to help.
I want to talk to you like 5 more hours, but we can't, not today. We'll definitely, hopefully get some time at Psi Games, although I'm going to be running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And seeing that. So tell me a little bit before we leave, tell me just a very clear, concise give me a clear, concise understanding of where you want to go, why people should come to Social RV, all of this type of stuff. Just give me first what pops into your mind. Clean as you can do it.
I think if people are skeptical about remote viewing being real, as they should be, everybody should be skeptical that it is real. Social RV will be the best place on the internet to point someone to and see verifiable data that, without a shadow of a doubt, proves whether or not remote viewing is real. And once someone has crossed that chasm and they're no longer skeptical, Social RV will be the best place on the internet to practice, learn, share remote viewing as a personal practice. That's the plan. That's the goal.
Okay. And do you have financial backing to make this thing as big as it sounds like you want it to be?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Social RV. I am honored to have Chase to be, a part of the Psi Games and to be someone who in this organization believed in the Psi Games enough to sponsor it. And, I would straight to say that, if he doesn't say yes, I'm going to just show up at his doorstep and try to get more engagement with him so that we can see how we can work together to bring these skills to the next level here in the future.
I love that. There will be lots more opportunity to hang out, to chat, whatever you want.
Yeah. So Chase, tell us how we can find all the things you want us to find out here in the world about what you're doing, and we'll leave it with that.
Yeah. So the easiest way is social-rv.com. Our socials are all right in the footer. And we've got, across all the socials, mostly we're posting right now on Twitter X, where we're social_RV_. Name's hard to get. All these people with are like driving RVs of all the good handles. So yeah, maybe we need to change our name or something. I don't know. That's the best place to find us now, though.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Chase. And I really appreciate all of this work that you're doing and your beautiful mind, man. Keep it up. You're doing great stuff. And I can't wait to see where we go in the near future with people like you out there doing what you're doing.
You too, man. Psi Games is going to be it. Like, I'm so excited to partner. We're all doing our part.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, check out Chase at socialrv.com, social-rv.com. I'm Hakeem, the founder and creator of the Psi Games. Until next time on Psi Games Talks, we'll see you later.
Step into the beyond, let your mind ignite, where the limits dissolve in the glow of the light. A world unseen, we will rise to explore, unlocking depths above our universal core. Psi Games, let's push beyond lines, where hearts, souls, and minds intertwine, developing flow, breaking the chains, building sparks into flames. Psi Games, where we